What levels of cheapness have astonished you? I went to the craft store with my mom. We bought an item, forgot what it was, that was around $5. She had a coupon she forgot to use. It was for 10% off. My mother proceeds to make the cashier do a return and repurchase for the 50 cents. Ugh. At Pizza Hut where I work, customers will do just about anything to get free or very cheap food, as if it isn't already cheap. Sometimes we make a mistake, and they are absolutely entitled to compensation. But some of these people will complain about any little detail of their pizza to get it for free. Oh, but my favorite is a group of ladies who come in every Sunday morning after church. They all order on separate checks, and they all get water and one small item like a personal pan pizza or a cup of soup. Their checks only turn out to be about $4 or $5 a piece. But they still, every single weekend, feel the need to announce and remind me we're seniors, so we need our senior citizen discount. 2. That makes their checks even cheaper, so they feel entitled to leave a few nickels and dimes on the table as a tip. Edit. To everyone saying that I shouldn't be judgmental because they might live on a fixed income, I should have clarified that they aren't elderly by any means. They are all in their late 50s at most. And only one of the ladies, someone's mother, appears to be over 75 or so. The rest of them are all well dressed with nice jewelry and drive nice cars and not technically seniors. But we give them the discount anyway because my boss goes by the customer is always right motto. Also, even if they are on a fixed income, they shouldn't be eating at a restaurant that has servers living off of tips. They could just as easily get fast food somewhere that doesn't have wait staff that are making $2.83 an hour. About a year ago, we had coupons that accompanied our bonus card for a small popcorn for $1. This was a great deal, considering that the normal price is $6. This woman comes up with her coupon and hands it to me. I make her popcorn and give it to her and say that'll be $1. Double quote. Instead of paying $1 she flips her shit. What? I thought IT was free. I'm not paying $1, this is ridiculous. Double quote. Are you kidding me? It's $1. Well, this is cheapness with purpose. Unfortunately, my father bought a total of 0 new clothes for 10 years. He is a diabetic, and he lived off of pasta because it was cheap. He budgets his money insanely, makes other people feel guilty for costing him anything, and is all around an obnoxious person with regard to money. On the other hand, the reason he does this is so that he can spend the maximum amount of money every month on lottery tickets. So, it's cheapness, with a twist. Open bracket. I'm about to start high school and everybody is supposed to wear grey uniforms. I live with my aunt and uncle and I woke up one morning and my aunt was dyeing some clothes grey. Bitch was so cheap. She was dyeing my fattest cousin's clothes grey rather than spending a little mine to buy me the uniform. They would have looked like slabs of elephant skin hanging all over me. Stroke. Good thing I went to Hogwarts instead. I work in a shoe store. We're the kind that has the shoes on the shelf so people can try them on. I can't even count the number of times that people ask for a discount because the shoes were previously tried on. Or when there's one last pair of a specific shoe and the customer asks for a discount because it's the last pair. Usually it's the last pair because they're popular, so if you don't want them full price, someone else will. Yeesh. When my grandmother was still alive, she would come and visit once or twice a year. This despite her having all sort of medical complications like osteoporosis and kidney dialysis. She really loved her son. Anyway, whenever she arrived, she had a bag of frozen Olive Garden breadsticks with her for us kids. At that time of my life I went EWW gross. But now that she passed, I asked my dad why she kept doing that. Answer. When she took you to Olive Garden once, you said to her that you really liked those breadsticks. I was shocked. Turns out grandma wasn't so much cheap as old, weird, and crazy in love with her grandkids. I work at a hardware store. Someone came in needing parts for gas line repair. Once I got him set up with all the pipe and fittings. I asked if he had the right tape for it. You need a special type of Teflon tape to have a perfect seal and prevent gas leaks. He replied, "No. Can you get me some?" I grab the tape and he asks why I grabbed the yellow tape, $4.99, instead of the blue tape, $0.99. I told him that the blue is for water line, and using it could very likely cause a gas leak. After trying to convince him, for 10 minutes, to just spend the $4 extra on something that would likely save his life, I walked away. I come back from my break. Turns out that the guy put back all the black iron, gas, pipes and fittings, and got the galvanized steel, water, pipes and fittings, a total of $15 cheaper, and blue tape. 2 weeks later there was a story on the news about a guy whose house had a gas leak and exploded. Luckily, the man was out with his family at the time, and no one was injured. I'm not sure if it was the same man from the store, but it's likely. TLDR. A guy came into the hardware store for gas line repairs. Ended up using pipes and fittings for water line instead of gas to save about $15 on a $250 purchase. Possibly caused his house to explode. Didn't happen to me, but it happened to my sister. She was invited to go out to dinner with her friend and her friend's family. Her friend's father is notorious amongst his friends. My mom is friends with him for being extremely cheap. So just in case this cheapness reared its ugly head, she brought along some money. Lo and behold, he made her pay for her own dinner even though they invited her to go with them. Edit. There seems to be some discussion on how it was rude of her to assume the family was going to pay for her. I answered this in a comment below, but here it is in the main comment also. I asked her about this. Apparently she brought the cash with the intention of offering to pay, as someone should to be polite. However, before she could offer, he asked her to pay and took her money. I lived with 3 other people during my junior year of college, and one of them insisted on keeping the AC off in the summer and the heat off in the winter, even though we lived in campus housing and didn't pay for any utilities, just so she could prepare herself for the following year when she would be living on her own in an apartment and never using it to save money. I got fed up, found the manual for the thermostat online, and set it to never be allowed to go above a certain temperature in the summer and never go below a certain temperature in the winter. My best friend in middle school wanted to go to Outback for his birthday, so his parents and 4 of friends loaded up and drove the 45 minutes. We all order our food and an order was placed for an appetizer of cheese fries that we would all share. The birthday boy goes first and he gets a huge fucking portion, literally 2/3 of the cheese fries, and makes sure to take all the cheese with it. All that was left were the skank remnants. No big deal. I'm cool, it's free food anyway. When the time to pay comes, the dad asks me and the other kids for $20 each. I ask why. He says, well, for your portion of the appetizer, your food, your drink, and for the birthday boy's food as well. I flat out refuse, and he threatens that maybe you should call your mom to drive 45 minutes to pick you up. I was 14 at the time. In my department where I work, I always have a small basket of candy, Jolly Ranchers, Tootsie Rolls, Lifesavers, out for my customers. Most are most appreciative and ask, are these free? And take 1, maybe 2 and thank me for the candy. Then there are some customers who just walk up and take handfuls of the candy. Once I had an older man dump the entire thing into his man purse, look straight at me and walk out. I used to work at a large telecom company, and I got a call from the wife of one of our local professional baseball players. The player had recently been traded to another team and signed a salary of $25 million a year. And she wanted the MLB extra innings package so she could watch all his games. However, when she found out it was $179 for the season, she decided that was too much to spend. We spoke for 4 minutes figuring that out. After the call I was curious, so I did the math. In those 4 minutes her husband had earned over $190. I have a friend who is full on gluten intolerant. However, he's so cheap. that he'll go to any lengths to avoid paying for food or anything else. When he found out he could dumpster unlimited bread in San Francisco, that became the staple, nay, the entirety of his diet. He spends his days moaning in agony as his insides churn and roil, suffering from constant fiery diarrhea. Yet he continues to eat his glutinous meals merely because they're free. I work in a grooming salon. There's one dog who come in that's not only extremely overweight, but must be allergic to whatever cheap, crappy food her owners are giving her. She is missing giant patches of her fur, and is swollen everywhere. She has constant ear infections and generally smells of death. Her owner won't do anything about it because it's just a dog and blames all the problems on the dog being elderly. It's an 8-year-old beagle. Company spends $5 million on offset printing equipment, 2 presses, cutters, folders, refuses to install climate control, wastes time and product because paper is too wet in summer and too dry in winter. Press and folder can't feed paper because it's either too wavy or locked together by static electricity. That's not cheapness, just management stupidity. A group of folks went out for dinner at a convention, and several people had leftovers. When we returned, one of the people who had not been able to get out to dinner was bummed. So one of the diners said, "Well, I have some leftovers. If you'd like them." Double quote. "Sure." Double quote. "Okay. My meal was $10. And there's about half of it left. So you owe me." Double quote. "No. I am not kidding. No. It was not me." I went to a birthday dinner for my mother-in-law at a Filipino restaurant, along with my wife and I. 4 of her friends were there. The friends ordered a mountain of food for the table. There were 7 of us there. But if there were a dozen, we couldn't have finished it all. This was a bit irritating right off the bat because while I was happy to pitch in for her birthday dinner, I didn't want to pay 20% of a goddamn feast from Westeros. It would up being over $200 worth of food. So then the check comes, and I pitch in my credit card, and 3 out of the 4 friends turn into statues. Except the oldest gentleman, who offers something like $15. I grab the bill and divide it by 5, leaving out the dishes and drinks that my wife and I ordered for ourselves and tally it up, saying what everyone owes. Crickets. I remind everyone that they were the ones who ordered this giant mound of food in the first place, half of which is going to go to waste. To prevent awkwardness, my mother-in-law grabs the bill and runs off, leaving my credit card to go pay it. My wife prevents me from stopping her and causing a scene. I quietly lay into the 3 deadbeats at the table for letting an elderly woman on a fixed income pay a $200 plus bill for her own birthday dinner. I lose it and call them fucking moochers. And ho! Suddenly there's that scene everyone was working so hard to prevent, with them screaming at me and me screaming back. The restaurant owners understandably intervene and toss all of us out. I go back in and apologize and explain what happened. The restaurant, to their credit, knock 40% off the bill out of nothing more than kindness. Solo Grill in Las Vegas. Y'all, and cancel the charge on my mother-in-law's card. And I picked up the rest, which was still quite a bit. But I felt a lot better about it. I had a bunch of cheap Bic pens when I worked as a server at Applebee's. I left one with a table so they could sign the receipt. I watched the dad sign it, get up, start walking away with his family, turn around 6 feet later, go back to the table, and pocket my pen. Whenever we all go out to eat as a group, my grandma's boyfriend, man friend, significant other, likes to get everyone's free lemon wedge that typically comes with their waters, squeeze them all into his, and then add a packet of sugar so that he doesn't have to pay for a lemonade. My economics teacher in high school once told us that he adopted 2 Chinese girls instead of having his own kids because statistically, Asian girls eat less. So he would be saving a lot of money in the long run. I believe this exact quote was when we go to McDonald's. They can split one hamburger, and it's still better than the gristle they were eating in China. What a deal. Double quote. This didn't strike me as being quite so racist until some time later. My mom had a boyfriend that would pull the stems off of cherries before purchasing them from the grocery store because he felt they'd weigh less without the stems and he'd get more for the money. I was with a friend and her parents at a dine-in restaurant. Her parents like to spend a lot of money on expensive things to show the world how well off they are. On this $150-ish bill. After sitting there catching up and talking to us for over 2 hours and harassing the nice waitress about every part of their meal, which my friend and I thought was really good, they left like a $5 tip. My friend was so embarrassed she snuck back and put an extra 40. I worked at a clothing retailer for a while. During one of our sales a lady comes in and puts 2 shirts on the counter. I ring her up and she asks that was buy one get one for $1. Right? I look at her and inform her. Actually they're each 50% off. Oh. I don't want them then. I calmly informed her that she was actually saving $1 and she repeated if it's not buy one get one for $1. I don't want them. And she promptly left. I work in general practice and we have a husband and wife duo. She's in her 40s and a nurse and he's 73 and a GP, yes. It's exactly that kind of relationship. He will hang around for a drug rep when they're scheduled to arrive and snipe all the food. He's notorious for taking lunches. Anything edible you have to hide. I mean, this man brings home over $1,000 a day but he has to eat your yogurt and sandwich. I've caught him sneaking out the back door with a box of sandwiches meant for everyone. Meanwhile, she will buy overly expensive clothes, have her nails hair done regularly but applied, and got $4,000 in dental work for free by scamming the government and Medicare and sends the kids to a breakfast club at school which is meant for parents who can't afford to feed their kids. I've also seen her raid our lost and found bin and our supply cupboard for batteries, envelopes, staples etc. I used to work for the Home Shopping Network, HSN, in the warehouse department. All of the clothing, underwear, purses, makeup items purchased from around the country came to this one warehouse where only 60 people handled the returns. If your grandmother ordered a sweater and returned it, there's a high chance I handled it. Anyway, people would return the absolute most worn out shit. Our job was to open the package, scan the account number and the item and decide if the item was good enough to put back to stock. Items like underwear were automatically sent to bad in case you were wondering. If an item was pristine with no smells, like perfume or cigarettes, and had no stains, tears or hair on it, we could fold it back up and return it to stock. HSN had a crappy policy that said items could be returned within 90 days of purchase. Fucking old ladies could buy that season's ugly ass shoes for $65. Wear them for 3 months and then send them back right before the deadline and get full credit for them, citing the reason for their return as defective or too small. Yeah. Okay. If it was defective, why did you wear it so much? If it was too small, how did you get your fat ass feet in them in order to wear them down to nothing? I saw shoes that were covered in grass and dog shit, and worn down to the point I wonder if they did it all on purpose. I didn't think they deserved a full credit for that. Especially when I had to send them to bad. It pissed me off. I'm all for saving money, hell. I live off coupons and sales, but what these women did was just downright dishonest and wrong. A few years back, my now ex-boyfriend asked me to go camping with him and his family. I had never been camping before and was really excited about it. We were going to stay on some islands in the middle of a lake. And the week before, his mom made us all come up with recipes and throw in some cash for the food we'd be eating for the week. I didn't have a problem with this and we came up with some awesome pasta dish ideas. When we got there, however, she changed her mind and decided no. She wanted to eat out in the town nearby every day. We were out camping for a week, and we had also brought a cooler packed full with the ingredients for each meal. Nobody warned me of this happening and well, as a 15-year-old, I didn't really think I'd need money when camping. Just the complete basics. After she realized I didn't bring any money with me, she screamed at my boyfriend for about an hour about how she shouldn't have to treat his guest. how he's going to have to pay for all the food I eat this week and how she expects this never to happen again. All while I sat crying in my tent nearby. Needless to say, every time we went out, I had a water with the cheapest meal on the menu. See, even if it was something I knew I didn't like. Worst camping experience of my life. My 13-year-old daughter was invited to a small birthday party at a mediocre chain restaurant, Ruby Tuesdays, for her best friend. The girlfriend is over here quite often and regularly eats dinner, breakfast, lunch, etc. if she is here, and sleeps over about twice a week during the summertime. She's been included to trips to the amusement park and water park nearby. We have season tickets, but there is always something to eat. Funnel cakes, etc. Movies, and the occasional trip to Dairy Queen, and I've never asked to be paid or have her pay her own way. We treat her as one of our own. Imagine my disgust when my daughter calls me from the restaurant bathroom, nearly in tears, telling me that they just told her she will have to pick up her own check after dinner and dessert have been served. Check was like $13.00. The guy actually said separate checks to the waitress, but my daughter didn't know what that meant. She had a few bucks on her, but she was short about $5. The other girl's father told my daughter that she would have to stay and was dishes or something, and got real ugly with her. Like she misled them or something. I have the parents' cell phone numbers. Called him and asked him real nice like if he could spot her $10 until he brought her home, and I would pay him back. He refused, and made it like somehow my daughter and I were scamming him. He suggested that I call the front desk and square it away, because they were leaving, and were going to leave my daughter there if she couldn't pay, so he wouldn't have the cops chasing him down on his daughter's birthday. I did call the front desk, gave them my credit card, included a healthy tip, and told my daughter I would be there to pick her up in 10 minutes. Don't go anywhere. When I got there, AskReddit was trying to get my daughter to leave with his family. Now that the bill was paid, his daughter was in tears. Needless to say, it got ugly. When I was a little kid, I used to spend summers at my grandparents' house, and one of my chores was to set the table before dinner every night. Whenever we were having company over for dinner, I was instructed to use the good napkins. That meant the napkins that didn't have restaurant logos printed on them. We only went to restaurants when my grandmother felt she could come out ahead on the deal. And there were many ways to accomplish this. She clipped coupons, of course. But there was kids stuff. Anytime she did anything for someone, she'd get them to take her to dinner to return the favor. She had an enormous purse, which generally came back stuffed with napkins and food from the buffet. She didn't see much point in going to any restaurant that didn't at least have a salad bar. One year, when my mother and I offered to take her to dinner for her birthday, we ended up having to drive over an hour to get to a sizzler she hadn't been banned from.